Okay, so today we are going to start absolute value equations. So your objective for today is that you will be able to solve absolute value equations. So the steps we're going to follow in these, first you have to make sure the absolute value expression is isolated, and you'll see what we mean in the examples. Then you set the inside of the absolute value equations to both the positive and negative numbers from the other side of the equation, and you solve it like a regular equation. And then you're going to write your answer like this because you will get two answers, so as like a coordinate set with one answer in the other. So we'll go through these. So if we remember when we were doing absolute value like the first week of school, we said the absolute value of -6 would be 6, but the absolute value of 6 is also 6 because it's just the positive value of the number. So in this case, we're going backwards. So if we're saying our answer is 6, that means x could be 6 or x could be -6. So therefore our answer would be 6 and -6. It doesn't matter which one you write first. So then over here, we would say P could be 12 or -12. Now, you might have to solve some of them. So in this case, this is what we were saying was step 2. So we would do x plus 3 equals +6, and x plus 3 equals -6, because this whole value here could equal -6, and your answer would still be +6. So we have to account for the fact that it could equal -6. That's why we're getting two answers. So now to solve this, it's just like solving an equation. We just have two of them. So you're going to subtract 3. We get x equals 3, and subtract 3, x equals -9. So our values could be 3 or -9. Over here, same thing. 2p minus 4 equals 12, or 2p minus 4 equals -12. Add 4, just like solving an equation, and then divide by 2. So p equals 8, add 4, 2p equals -8, divide by 2, p equals -4. So then you get 8 or -4. So here's another example. So again, the only difference from solving an equation is that once this absolute value is by itself, so we're going to see ones where it isn't, you set the inside of the parentheses equal to the positive answer and equal to the negative answer. Then we subtract 4 to solve this. We get -3k equals 12 divided by -3. So k equals -4, or k equals 20 over 3. Chances are, since we're doing this with the positive and negative, we will get fractions like this, so just keep it like that. And so our answer here is -4 and 20 over 3. Now here's one where our absolute value is not isolated. So when you have numbers on the outside or underneath, when the left side is not just this absolute value expression, we need to get rid of everything else first. We need this to be by itself before we can set it equal to the positive and negative of the answer. So it's kind of like solving equations. Imagine this was just like a big X and you want to get rid of this -5. To undo subtraction, you're going to add it to both sides. So we get 2m plus 7, the absolute value of that, equals 21. Now we can set it equal to the positive and negative of the number. So now we can do 2m plus 7 equals 21, and 2m plus 7 equals -21. So you're going to use that new answer both times. Subtract 7, we get 2m equals 14. Divide by 2, so m equals 7. Then subtract 7, 2m equals -28, so divide by 2, m equals negative 14. So you're following the same steps each time, like subtracting 7, dividing by 2. It's just that we're getting different answers because we need the positive and negative of this number. So our answer is 7 or negative 14. Here's an example of a big fraction. So this whole absolute value is being divided by 3. So to undo division, we learned we need to multiply. So we get the absolute value of negative 3x minus 4 equals 6. So now we can set this equal to positive 6 and negative 6. Solve them. So we add 4. Here we get x equals 10 divided by negative 3. And here we get x equals 2 over 3. So again, having fractions is okay, just keep it as a fraction. Sometimes it might be like a multi-step equation where you need to do 2 things to get this set of absolute value by itself. So first, just like in solving equations, you need to undo your addition and subtraction. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So we get negative 2 times the absolute value of x plus 5 equals negative 4. Then, since this is being multiplied, divide by negative 2. We get the absolute value of x plus 5 equals 2. Now we're going to set this equal to the positive and negative of our new answer. So x plus 5 equals 2, and x plus 5 equals negative 2. Then subtract 5 from both to solve. We get x equals negative 3 and x equals negative 7. Write it in your coordinate set. So it's not too bad. We're just getting the absolute value by itself, then set it equal to the positive and negative of the other side. Now we do have some special cases. If you remember, whenever we were doing absolute value, like the absolute value of negative 3 is 3, absolute value of 3 is 3, we never get a negative number out. So the absolute value of a number can never be negative. Therefore, if we have our isolated, like x plus something, our isolated absolute value equal to a negative number, it's going to be no solution because this can never equal negative 3. So in this case, we have the absolute value of x equals negative 6. Clearly, this does not. It's no solution because we're never going to take the absolute value of a number and get negative 6 out. Now, if we look at this one, you have to be careful because, as I said, it's only if the isolated absolute value is equal to a negative. So sometimes you might divide. So we're going to divide by negative 2. Well, now our negatives cancel out. So now we have our isolated absolute value, and we have positive 7 over 2. So we can solve this one. So you would set it equal to the positive and negative of the number. But that goes for the same way too. So let's say we had x plus 3 equals negative or positive 8. You might see this positive 8 and think that it's possible to solve this, but if you divide by negative 2, the isolated absolute value is equal to negative 4. So now it becomes no solution. So just make sure. So first step, we're always isolating our absolute value. If it's equal to a negative number once it's isolated, then it's no solution. But if not, then we're going to set it equal to the positive and negative of your value. So come to class tomorrow with any questions you might have.